Okay. One other item before I make the motion for the budget. A meeting with the president of our Newtown ambulance squad, Joe Schwerk, and discussed the process of putting together his dollar amount in our budget this year. And based on the feedback I'd received from council, I've asked Joe to come before council sometime early next year, perhaps our February work session or our February council meeting, to give the new council the benefit of what the ambulance squad does for the town. So as we administer those dollars for 2010 and beyond, we'll have an appreciation for the levels of service, because we wrestled with the dollar amount this year, and I don't think we want to have to do that in the future. I think you do provide a necessary and valuable service to all of us, but I think I did my best to give Joe an appreciation for some facts and figures that will help us respond to our constituents if we're asked, how does that money benefit borough residents, et cetera. So if it's okay with council, I'd like to get that scheduled for sometime in February. With that in mind, you may recall our discussion regarding the contribution before we finalized the preliminary budget, and I think I had recommended perhaps considering $10,000 for the ambulance squad. We budgeted $8,000. Before I make a motion on the current budget, I'd like to have council consider an additional $2,000 for the ambulance squad. They do have a $27,000 deficit for 2010, and as everyone knows, every little bit helps. But I'm just going to tee it up before I make the motion to approve the budget to see how council feels about it. If we're firm in our convictions at 8, I'll move ahead.
I have a question, Bob. Looking at paragraph, and is Joe here?
Yes,
still?
yes.
Maybe you could come up to the podium. Maybe you can, I think. In the third paragraph of your letter, you talk about a contribution of $10,000 to our projected 2010 shortfall. So you're talking about increasing by $2,000 as opposed to an additional $10,000.
Correct.
You're talking about a total of $10,000.
Well, I'll accept it either way you interpret it.
Whatever's higher, right, Joe?
Whatever's higher.
You know, you're beginning to sound like the fire company. But I just wanted to be clear on that, because I read this a second way, and that is that it was an additional $10,000 to be devoted to the $27,000 shortfall. But
I'm sorry, there's a misunderstanding there. The request was for a total of $10,000.
Okay. And I had to make the fire company crack because you made reference in here to what I thought was a fire company.
I was not specific, just to demonstrate that we are a frugal group over there. We're driving 1994 Chief cars, not brand new Tahoes. My people have not had a raise in 2.5 years. My fleet is aging. We will do, by the end of the year, well over 8,000 patient moves. Certainly not all from the borough, but in our first due area. We're a very busy, active operation, and one of 3 emergency services that you all are obligated to provide to the community. That's not a threat, that's just a fact. It's been a real tough year for us this year, and we're not looking for it to get any better. Our expenses, like everyone else's, have continued to rise, and with our contracts with all of the insurance companies, they're not giving it up. They're at par at best. Some are even giving us less. So it just continues to be tougher and tougher. We're still nonprofit.
Could you indicate, because I know we talked about it last year, what the contributions are from the municipalities who do support the squad? If you know offhand. If you don't, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought it'd be educational for everyone to know what we're talking about.
No, specifically, I can tell you that when Newtown Township approves their budget on the 16th, last year they committed to 25% of their local services tax, which will this year, I believe, equate to about $98,000. And we get smaller contributions. Upper Makefield has committed to increase theirs. They did not say yet what that is. And I can't give you accurate numbers from anyone else. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's all right.
Mike, I believe you have a copy of their budget, but I understand your point. I did distribute a copy of their budget.
I don't remember it listing municipalities with defined numbers. It could have.
Yeah, I think it did, Mike.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm more
take a look.
concerned about
Yeah.
people who watch
I don't
this-
have it with me, unfortunately.
who watch this and say, well, if we're going to contribute 10,000 as a small borough, what are other municipalities doing by way of support? You've given one, Newtown Township, and that's significant. So people have a sense of proportion with the contribution.
Probably reasonably proportional on it.
Well-
Their population to the borough's population. I don't know.
It's proportional in the township. My guess is, and I believe it's not quite as proportional with the other surrounding communities.
That's what I was curious about, yeah.
That's probably accurate.
Well, with that, I'll make the motion, since I made the this,
Okay.
to increase the funding to a total of $10,000. That's an increase of $2,000 from what was
Budget.
previously budgeted.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Bob, did you want to vote?
Don's raising a point with respect to the budget being out of balance for $2,000. I don't understand that.
My only point is that I'm presuming that the budget as prepared had a line item for an $8,000 expense, and then
did,
there's an
yeah.
$8,000 income somewhere. You just increased $2,000 as an expenditure. You need a $2,000 income somewhere or an adjustment somewhere to compensate for that. Because right now, your budget would not be in
It
balance.
can come out of the operating reserve account to adjust it.
Okay.
I can adjust it by $2,000 from the operating
Does
reserve.
that have to be in our motion?
You would want that in your motion because under the code, at this meeting, you're permitted to do that, to make adjustments to the budget, but you want to make it very clear that the one that you had a budget on inspection, that's what people were looking at, so any changes should be reflected in the minutes, so there's a trail on it.
I'll amend my motion to include the...
Take back that vote.
To the, well, Mike, you got to amend your motion, I'm sorry. We would obtain the $2,000 out of the operating reserve account to balance the budget.
I didn't understand a word you just
From
said.
the operating, we're going to get that $2,000 from the operating
Operating
reserve.
reserve.
So I'll accept that amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed, motion passes.
Now,
Thank you.
I'll make a
I
motion
appreciate
to,
it.
thanks, Matt.